In this session 99, we're going to take a look at one of the most famous irrational numbers that there are. And that number is the number pi. Most of you are already familiar with this. Pi is the number of times that the diameter of a circle can be wrapped around the outside of the circle. And remember, the distance around the outside of the circle is called the circumference. So a common formula that we have used for the circumference of a circle, C for circumference, is pi times diameter. D stands for diameter. Well, also in circles, we know that the diameter is twice as long as the radius. So another formula for the circumference of a circle is pi times your radius times 2. Because 2 times r, 2 radiuses, equals 1 diameter. And most often that's rewritten as 2 pi r. Circumference equals 2 pi r. And then lastly, as far as a circle goes, the area formula for a circle includes pi. It is pi times your radius squared. Now the approximation for pi is 3.14 taken out to 2 decimal places. But as you know, pi is actually a decimal that keeps going on forever without end and without any repetition or any pattern of numbers repeating whatsoever. The first 10 places of pi are 3.14159.26535. But for most practical purposes, for us, when they ask you to calculate out the approximate value of something where pi is included, they're wanting you to use 3.14 as the approximate value of pi. And that's what those double, I call them squigglies, Tim does, whatever. That means approximately equal to. So the approximate value of pi is 3.14. Well, coming over here, let's take a look at a couple of different examples. Let's say we had a circle whose radius is 10, r standing for radius. The question is, what is the circumference of that particular circle? Well, we know that the circumference is 2 pi r. So what we need to do now is to insert our value for our radius into the formula here. The circumference is going to be 2 times pi times r. Well, if r is 10, 10 times 2 would be 20. Our circumference would be 20 pi. And much of the time, this is good enough. It's 20 pi. However, if you are asked to calculate out its approximate value, you would simply take pi and replace it with 3.14 and take 3.14 times 20. And that is approximately 62.8. So if we have a radius of 10, the circumference of our circle will be 20 pi, or approximately 62.8. Let's say we had another problem, and this time our diameter is 14. Question is, what's our circumference of that circle whose diameter is 14? Well, our circumference formula, including a diameter, is pi times d. So we simply take our 14 and insert it into the formula. When we have a diameter of 14, our circumference is going to be 14 pi. That is our answer. And once again, if you were asked to calculate its approximate answer out, you would take 3.14 for pi and multiply it by 14. And that would give you approximately 43.96. But much of the time, this format is all the further you need to take it. So what is the diameter? Or excuse me, what is the circumference of a circle whose diameter is 14? The circumference is 14 pi. Let's take a look at another one here. Now what we're going to do is deal with the area of a circle. let's try to make that just a little bit neater. The area of the circle being represented by the letter A. If we know that the area of a circle is 17 pi, the question is, what's the radius? Well, you need to remember what your area formula is for a circle. Your area formula for a circle is pi times your radius squared. So what we need to do now is we need to come over on the left side of our equation, which we have A for our area, and replace 17 pi for it. We know that the area of the circle is 17 pi. We're trying to figure out the radius. So we know 17 pi equals pi times r squared. Now we can divide both sides by pi. And if we divide both sides by pi, 17 pi divided by pi is going to leave us 17 on the left-hand side. And pi r squared divided by pi on the right-hand side will just be r squared. Our r is our radius. The question is, what is our radius? Well, right now our r is not by itself. It's being squared. So in order to undo that, we need to take the square root of the right side and the square root of the left side. Then I'm going to flip them around. What is the square root of r squared? Well, the square root of r squared is simply r. And what is the square root of 17? Well, we cannot simplify that any further. So our radius is going to be equal to plus or minus the square root of 17. Now, since we're dealing with a circle here, there is no such thing as a negative radius. So the radius is going to be radical 17. For this circle, the square root of 17, or radical 17, is the radius for the circle whose area is 17 pi. And just as review, once again, one of the best known irrational numbers is pi, and the approximate value of pi is 3.14. That'll finish up session 99 on pi.